Welcome to Prospecting Today, and we are here with the legendary David Knox, absolutely legendary because he has been in this business for 4 decades and real estate training for 4 decades. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what brought you here or how you got into real estate training?
Well, good question, Kimberly. First of all, thank you very much. I'm usually on the other side of the table interviewing top realtors around the world, so it's weird to be on the other side. So thanks for coming in. Pleasure to meet you. I got in the real estate business right out of college, age 22. Had no idea what I wanted to do. And a good friend of mine said, I'm going to get a real estate license, going to school tonight. Would you like to come with me? And there was nothing on TV that night, and I said, sure. And with that conviction, I entered the real estate business. And I was offered a job by the school at a local company. He went to a different company that was one of the larger ones in Minneapolis. And then somebody else got into the business. This friend of mine, Dar Reedy, and Ralph Burnett started a new company, which is still a big company here in Minneapolis. I went over and joined them and started selling with them.
Well, that's wonderful. But at what point in your career were you like, I can sell the home or I can list the home, but what I really want to do is use my skills to teach other agents how to be successful at doing those things?
Well, first of all, I was drunk for my first 3 years in the business.
Okay.
I mean, literally, clinically drunk.
Okay.
I mean, to the point I'd pull up a stop sign, a beer bottle, roll out under the deal, and went, oh, that's not good. So I had buyers go, I don't think we want to do with this guy. But, you know, I took my college days into the real estate business. So the first 3 years I partied. Finally, I decided to clean my act. I quit drinking, ultimately got involved in AA, and totally cleaned up my act. And it's a good thing because in 1976, Ralph Burnett was going to fire me because I was just out of sorts here. $3,500 gross income, 17 pounds overweight. No, 30 pounds overweight, 17,000 in debt. And I said, I got to clean up my act. So I cleaned up my act and I became top agent, I think, not right away, but I think February, March, April, May. And finally, it's amazing how well you can sell real estate when you're sober. Mm-hmm. And so as I did that, Ralph noticed that, hey, you were great with buyers. You have like 100% closing ratio. I'd get full commissions on listings. I won multiple offers. I don't think I ever lost a multiple offer presentation. Wow. And then Ralph Burnett needed somebody to do a seminar on buyers. And he said, do you want to do Friday afternoon from 2 to 4 or whatever? And I said, yeah, really? You want me to teach? Well, I'd love to. Mm-hmm. And so I got all ready, prepared my stuff. And at the end of the 2 hours, I went, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was just like that absolute clarity. Hopefully everybody gets that moment in their life where they're clear. And Ralph said, hey, how'd you like doing that? And I said, Ralph, I loved it. It was really great. He goes, well, good, because the class thought that you were the best speaker of the 2 weeks. Would you like to do it again? I said, absolutely. So that was my start in local training. Mm-hmm. And then I became a CRS, Certified Residential Specialist Instructor, for the National Association of Realtors, and that kind of gives you street cred as a speaker, and that got me into state conventions and associations and GRIs and all that stuff, and so I started my career in national speaking.
That's wonderful. So something that kind of I've been very interested in as I've learned more and more about this industry is 90% of agents, some high statistic like that, fail. They can't make a living in this industry. Yeah. What are they doing wrong? You spend a lot of time teaching these agents. Where are they going wrong that 90% of them in this industry have to get out of it?
Where do we begin? I suppose it would have to begin with the selection process. That the broker, owner, managers, and companies, they reach out and they want to bring people into the business. So there's job one for all managers is recruit. I agree with that. Recruiting pretty much solves all problems. So you get the people in the door, and it's so difficult to measure who's going to be that good agent. You can interview, you can test, you can do everything. I've hired people where I thought, this person's going to be great. They can't sell mittens in a blizzard. Then you get somebody you go, oh, that person's not going to make it. They turn out to be a top agent. So you really don't know who's going to be good, oftentimes, until you give them a shot. So I'm totally okay, give them a shot, bring them in the door, do everything you can, recruit, train, retrain. But at some point, let go. And the industry is not good at letting go. So we keep them in there. So to your question, what makes them good or bad? There's so many things, assertiveness, initiative, and we can get into some of the skills. But people say, well, there's a low barrier to entry. That's true. And people say, should we raise the barrier? And I'm a kind of a free market guy, so I would let the market weed them out. So if they're good, they're going to make money and stay in it. If they're bad, they're not going to make any money, but they stay in the business. So go back. I want to make sure that I answer your question.
Yeah, you are. You're definitely answering it. You're basically saying there's no way you can tell just by looking at an agent when they initially walk in the door if they have it in them to be successful. So it's like give all of them a chance and kind of see who rises to the top.
Yeah.
So then let's get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah.
Skills and attitude.
Yeah.
What makes a successful agent?
I think they need to look at it as a business and not just a part-time, oh, this would be fun. Let's go sell houses. I'd really like to do that. And they'll get in with kind of that wrong belief system, and it's a lot of fun. And then some of them, they go out, they sell one house. It's great. Maybe it gets them out of the house. They can say, I'm a realtor. They can't even pronounce realtor. And they don't treat it as a business. Some of the skills that I see top agents have are assertiveness. I mean, they're assertive. They're ego-driven. They want to win. Venus Morris Griffin, who you've helped write the book and we feature on our videos, I talked to her the other day. At the end of a year, she made almost $2 million in gross commission income. She said, David, I was on this listing today and I lost it to another agent. I cannot tell you how bad I feel about that. It drove her nuts.
Right.
And I still, at that income level, she wants to win. So that's the drive. And I think the other thing lacking in some of the agents is initiative. I want my broker to pay for it. I want my broker to give me leads. I want my broker this, broker that, broker that. They just want to take. And they won't get off their aspirations and go out there and take care of themselves. I learned, in fact, when I started working with Ralph Burnett, it was a big company, did very well. It's still a huge company here. I thought, yay, I'm with this big company. I'm going to get leads. I'm going to be made successful. And I went, no.
Yeah.
You make us successful. I went, you mean I have to do it? I have to prospect. I have to get leads. And I think probably the greatest thing I ever learned in my life was, if it's going to happen, it's up to you.
Absolutely.
I'll accept help. I've got tons of mentors. I've got people to whom I'm so grateful for helping me, but I had to go out and do it. And I think Bob Wolf, another guy we interview, he may have been quoting a book. He said, David, real estate agents, they don't need any more techniques. They don't need 20 more techniques. They need 20 seconds of courage. 20 seconds of courage.
I like that.
It's 20 seconds of courage. Get off. Go in, knock at the door. Appraisal comes in low. You don't want to tell a seller. You pick them up. Mr. and Ms. Seller, the appraisal came in low. I just want to share that news with you. Just, do the worst first. I think it was Bill Clinton who said, I'll tell you what, if you got a frog to eat, don't look at it too long.
Great advice.
Yeah.
I love that.
So if you get in the business and it's playtime and it's fun and it's cute, yeah, you're not going to do well. But if you get in, this is a business. You're helping people buy the greatest asset any human being will buy, is their home. And it's a serious job. You can have it fun, but this is a business. And you got to help buyers and sellers out and prospect for leads.
What does hard work look like to you in this industry?
Doing the worst first, which is prospecting, making the calls. And you can go into all the different ways to prospect, which I'm happy to talk about. But having the initiative to do it, driving by a for sale by honor. I've asked audiences. I said, have any of you ever driven by a for sale by honor? And they raise their hand. I said, that's what that looks like. You drive by, you go down, you stop, and you go, oh, look at that, for sale by honor. There is a homeowner who wants to sell real estate. I'm a realtor. That's what I do. And I really need listings. But not today. And they drive away. And
Right.
that's the 20 seconds of courage. That's the moment where you go knock on the door, or do you go back to your house? Or back to that's the other thing, go back to their house rather than maybe the office. So not having that courage to prospect. And the discipline to do it. They get in the real estate business, I'm free, I can do anything I want, anytime I want. And you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to do nothing. You know why? Because I can. And it's really easy to do nothing. It's easy. Jim Rohn, have you heard of Jim Rohn?
I haven't.
Probably one of the greatest speakers ever lived. He passed away a few years ago, a mentor of mine, and I had the opportunity to share the stage with him, one of my greatest days. And Jim has a great quote. He said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better.
Oh, I like that.
So these agents go, I wish we should have a rule against companies that charge lower commission. No, that's anti-free market. Let them charge whatever they want. The consumer, if they want a low price, let them get a low price. If they want a high price, let them get it. That's the freedom of choice of our system.
Yeah.
And if you want to charge a higher price, don't wish it was easy. Wish you were better. Deliver service commensurate with your fee.
Right. I like that quote because you're giving the power to them. You're empowering them.
Yeah.
Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better.
Yeah.
You've got the power to get better
Yeah.
and do this better. So let's talk about what that day looks like for successful agents. I've met a few successful agents. You've met many successful agents. what does their day look like? Because the people I'm coming in and talking to, they are in the office bright and early, whether they have an appointment or not, they are sticking to a schedule. They never let up on prospecting. Even if the referrals are coming in, they're still prospecting. So give an idea to people what those driven, hardworking, successful agents do when it comes to terms of like sticking to a schedule.
I can think of a high tech and a low tech. Low tech probably would be Bob Wolf, one of the top realtors in America, a good friend of mine, feature him in our training. Very low tech guy. Says, David, people have told me I have a website. I've heard it's pretty good. I've never seen it. I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. I've never met any of them. Don't know anything about it. He's low tech. But I'll tell you what, the guy is a machine. He gets in the office and he goes in the office early. He changes his voicemail greeting. Hello, this is Bob Wolf. It's February 25th. You've reached my voicemail. He changes his greeting every single morning to the current date. And he does it at 4 in the morning or something. We try to beat him to it and go, Bob, your voicemail's wrong. And the only way I can do that is if I call from New Zealand. But he gets in early, changes his voicemail greeting, clears out all the email, voicemails, whatever that stuff is. Then he'll have his file folders laid out, and he knows the sellers that are coming up that he wants to prospect, the buyers that he's going to match, and gets on the phone, makes calls, and talks to people. I remember once in a video interview, he stopped the interview and said, David, I have to take this call. One of his past sellers said, we're thinking of moving. We want to know we need some comps for properties in the area. And I typically would never recommend doing comps or a CMA before you get there. But it's a past client, that's okay. So he says to whomever it was, get me everything between $950 and $1 million. So we go back to the interview. She comes in and she goes, this. He goes, yes, no, yes. Okay, get 2 more of these and come back. She comes back in. He's got a stack of 10 comps. He says, David, come with me. Where are we going? Come with me. We get in the car. We drive over to this woman's house. He goes up to the front door, knocks on it, and says, here's the comps you asked for 22 minutes ago.
Wow. So he is
what would
on
everybody
it.
else do? 2 days later, like, I guess I better get some comps, and then they'll email him or something like that. But Bob prints them out, gets the car, drives into the client. That's the difference between him and the other 95%.
That's amazing. What I loved about that is if I'm in the business of trying to find myself a realtor, I call him, and that voicemail is like that very date. That guy is on it, and I instantly feel that. That's huge.
I know. And speaking of voicemail, the worst, the sin that drives me nuts is mailbox full.
Oh,
you go through this. Thanks for reaching me. You can go to www.don'twannatalkyou.com, and I'm really busy, and I might be out with a client. It might be this. You can text me for faster response. If you call after 11, I return my calls at 1. And they drag you through this horrible litany. And go to my website, and if you're doing this, call that, do that, and you wait, and then mailbox full. So that's the kind of stuff that happens all the time. And speaking of that, you want to be a top agent in this business, answer the phone. Answer the phone, because nobody does it.
Wow.
Nobody. Just get on the phone, do your own test, call real estate agents companies, see if anybody answers the phone. I had a guy yesterday, I remember, this guy named Ken. He's with First Team Real Estate in Southern California. He signed up for my online consumer videos. And I went down and got it, dialed his number to thank him. And he answered the phone. This is Ken. And he was kind of tentative, like, who's this? And I say, hey, Ken, this is David Knox. I'm calling to thank you for subscribing to our videos. Is this really David Knox? I go, yes, this is really him. Wow. I said, what do you mean? He says, I can't believe you're actually calling me. I saw the David Knox on the phone. I thought it might be the company, but it's really you. Yep, this is really me. You can speak at the tone. He goes, well, I'm really impressed. And he says, you're amazing. And I said to him, Ken, it's not that I'm amazing. It's just that everybody else sucks. All I did was call him up and thank him for his business. That's, to me, not amazing. That's fundamental, basic customer service. Why? When does that become amazing?
Right, because nobody's doing it.
Nobody does it.
Yeah.
So, and I get, agents are busy. You're on a listing presentation, you're not going to answer the phone. Figure out a way to go *72, send it to somebody, have somebody answer it. But if you can get a human being to answer the phone, that puts you in the top 5%. Zillow, truly, we interviewed a guy, Steve Murray with Real Trends, and he said, agents are worried about all these online. Zillow, truly, he says the problem all of those companies, these aggregators have is what they call the last mile. We can get all the leads. We can get the page hits. We get everybody coming to Zillow, but then we've got to give it to a realtor who says that's where it breaks down. We can't get them to respond. They won't answer their email. They won't answer the phone. They won't respond to a text. So that's one of the weak links in the industry. The last mile, as he calls it, the human touch, answer the phone.
Yeah, that's the easy step, which also makes me resonate with this whole high statistic of failure in this industry. Have you personally talked to an agent that struggles with this, David? Because I'd be kind of curious, what do they say to you? Like when you approach them and maybe you've tried calling them or whatever, or you've heard they don't really answer their phone, and you say, why don't you answer your phone? Let's just start there. Such an easy thing to do. What are some of the responses you hear from agents about not answering their phones?
I don't get it. I can't get through to give them that hard time.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have, and I say, can I give you some feedback on your voicemail greeting? Can I give you some feedback on that? There's this other software out there, I think it's called Umail. I want to add another word. It's a horrible system. So I'll just give people critique. They don't like it, but I'll just say, well, you're subscribing to my training. You want to hear some feedback. And I'll say, shorten your greeting. I said to one woman, I said, can I give you feedback? Your greeting is really long. It goes on and on and on. You go here, you can text here. I said, look, all I want to know is I reached you on today's date. That's all I want to know. Because even after that, it's if you'd like to leave a message, So I'll give them feedback. I can teach it in a seminar. And then you hope they do it. And we've got a video on our site where I actually called real estate companies. We recorded, 100 calls. And I put 30 or 40 of them in a video. And I said, these are real calls, listen to them.
So what I'd be interested in, if I'm an agent out there and you're an expert in this and you're talking a lot about voicemails and you say, keep it short and succinct, like you said, I just want to know that I reached you and it's on this date. Give me a quick example of what that short and sweet email should sound like, or voicemail.
Yeah, I just say, hey, it's David Knox. Hello, this is David Knox. It's February 26th. You've reached my voicemail, cell phone, or you've reached my cell phone. Leave me a message. I'll call you back.
Okay, so you are of the school, the camp, or the school of thought that this guy's from, that first thing in the morning I'm waking up and I'm changing that voicemail greeting every single day so people know I am on it, I am working today, I will hear your voicemail, I will get back to you. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and I think, what's the date, 28th today? Is that
it's
right?
the 26th. No, you got it right.
I got it right. Well, that's good.
David is on it today. Yes.
I guess, hi, this is David Knox. February 28th, you reached my cell phone, leave me a message, and I'll call you back.
Okay.
And I might slow it down a little bit because sometimes people miss the first part of it. So I realize we're getting really fundamental here, but the reason I rant about this stuff, it is the first impression. So you spend all this money, whether you're buying leads, you're doing Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you're doing in the social world, the digital world, the first response to you is probably going to be phone, email, text. And I get emails where there's no signature in it. I don't know who they are, where they're from. You can't click on the number. Photos are the big one. I look at people's business cards. I go, who's this? They go, that's me. And I go, when? Said, did anyone else get hurt? I mean, it's just. So I think those first impressions.
Photo.
Yeah, updated photos. So these are the simple little things, and people would listen to this and go, oh my gosh, David was really getting fundamental basic. But it's the first impression. Do you have bad breath? Are your shoes shine? Do you dress well? Does the photo match who you are? So let's take care of those things. And agents are looking, how should I do a feature benefit statement on my listing presentation? Did you show up on time? And that's another big rant. Good luck getting an agent to show up on time. I do live Zoom video meetings for my customers. And I just had a request today. And I said, when do you want to do? Well, we're going to do, our meetings are at 9 o'clock. And I said, okay, I can do 9 o'clock. Well, let's make it 9:15 because you know how agents are. They all come in late. And I said, you codependent person, you are already altering your professional behavior because you know they're coming late. Right. And I give them a hard time about that. I said, if the agent can't come to a meeting at 9 o'clock, you've got far bigger problems than I'm going to talk about. But if your first call to a listing is 7 o'clock and you show up at 7:08 and go, sorry, there was traffic. Dude, what an idiot. And I said, get there half an hour early, drive the neighborhood, and then in 10 minutes before, park your car and do nothing.
Yeah, just get in the right mindset.
Get in the right mindset. I do that before every seminar. I try to be done with all my setup by a half an hour before the seminar, and then I do nothing. Walk around, meet people, shake hands, say a little prayer that everything I say today will be for the audience, take a deep breath, relax, and then when they introduce me, I'm like, calm up there. Same with the listing. You go up, you look at your iPhone, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, showtime. Right at the 0, not early. And they open the door and they look at their watch and they go, wow, cool, you're right on time. And then when you get a commission objection later, they say, well, the other company charges 1% less. There are variable fees in our market. We respect that. Let me ask you a question. What time was your appointment with them? Honey, what time was it? Well, I think it was, 6 o'clock. What time did they show up? And you can have 50 chance. I go, well, they were pretty close. Pretty close?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for in agents? Pretty close? The very first agreement they made with you was to the time they're going to be there. And if they couldn't keep that, I mean, I've only asked you one question, we've got a difference. So anyway, I do rant about some of the little things because that's what annoys people, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it's really interesting to me because the things you're talking about are just the basic fundamentals of just appearing like you're on the ball. Like, I'm going to trust you with my largest asset. Please show me you're on the ball so I can trust you with that. Yeah. And I like that. You're talking about answer your phone calls, get the right voicemail so that it appears that you are working that day and you are on it. And then, like you said, the timely factor. Yeah. You know, don't take anything or be lackadaisical about anything because you literally are in charge of moving their largest asset. Yeah. So that's amazing. So I still want to stick with this mindset, like, you know, skills and attitude and the different breakdowns you have there, but really the mindset of a winner. What kind of mindset? Because your mindset's going to get you through the rejections. It's going to get you out of bed every morning, and it's going to get you in the correct frame of mind to be on top of your game and do even these little things that you've been talking about. What is the mindset of a successful agent?
Well, you know, I'm going to come back to this. I want to finish one thing here. For the people listening, say, how in the world am I going to answer my phone if I'm busy? If you're too busy to answer your phone, you are busy enough to hire an assistant.
Okay.
So Venus Morris Griffin, almost right away, she knew get help right away. So a lot of agents, you know, if you're really doing well and you're busy, they say, I'm too busy to answer my phone, then great. You're making enough money to hire an assistant, half-time, part-time, whatever. So get help. And one other thing on the area of skills, and then I'll get into it deeper. There's the key skills of an agent are meet people, contact them, build rapport, establish trust, uncover their motivation, present benefits, ask for the order. That's it. That's all there is in selling. And the meet people, the contacting is actually 85% of the job. Because the presentations, you might go on, a good agent's going on one a week or two. I got to be careful what numbers to use. But you're not going to a listing presentation every hour, but you're meeting people perhaps every hour. So most of the people look at the industry and they think the negotiation and the showing and the listing presentation, that's the fun part of the business. The hard part is getting the appointments. So that's, I think, why a lot of people fail. They don't see that the majority of the day should be spent prospecting for appointments. And I've done Zoom meetings and seminars. I say, how many of you right now have a listing appointment? And, you know, 10% of the hands go up. And I say, the rest of you are out of business. They said, I know I'm being kind of cruel, but basically if you don't have a listing appointment set up, you're out of business. So what are you going to do to get a listing appointment? And then you can get into the myriad ways to do it. And but back to the question on
mindset, skills, and you know, the attitude you have to have in this business to be successful.
I think the mindset gets into goal setting, and I do, you know, a long seminar on it, on goal setting. And the three areas of life planning would be goals, objectives, and values. And you can take everything you ever do, they fall in those three categories. The goal answers the question, what do you want in your life? What do you want specifically measurable? Income, cars, friends, relationships, whatever, those specific end results, listings, sales, all of that stuff. They're measurable, they're end results. So the first question is, what do you want? The second question, and it should be the second question, is how are you going to get them? And the problem is that people often won't set a goal if they don't know how to get there. Because they go, well, how am I going to do that? And then they sit back, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? I could never. And then they go one step further and said, I don't think I can do it, so they don't set the goal. Right. I read another speaker called it self-censorship, where they right away throw out the goal. I think it was, who's the rocket guy? It's Bezos and...
the Tesla guy.
Is it the Tesla guy who's doing the rockets? I keep...
Yeah, it's Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Okay, yes. So Elon Musk, his goal is to, you know, put men in orbit, or women, he wants to put people in orbit. And does he know exactly how to do it? Well, they understand basic rocketry, but they really don't know how to do it. But he's committed to doing it, and his belief is, we're going to do it. So I know what I want to do. How are we going to do it? He's been working. He wanted to do it in 2014. Well, he's 6 years late on that because they're still working on the how-to. Right. But he's committed to it. So when I talk to agents about, why don't you set a goal to take your current income, write down double the number? And I get two responses. One is, yes, wouldn't that be cool? And the other one is, yeah, right. I said, where did the yeah, right come from? Well, how? And they'll say, well, how? And they get right into the how. Ultimately, you need to know the how-to. It's like weight loss. How many would like to weigh less? Half the audience raised their hand. I said, right now, do you know how to weigh less? Or is there anybody that doesn't know how? And they'll look and go, no, I think everybody knows how to do it. Why don't you do it? Yeah, that's a good question. Because you haven't gotten the goal to what. You haven't decided you want to do it. And that gets to the most important part of it, and you've heard this now, people are using it all the time, is you have to get to your why. So the other one is values, feelings, emotions. What is your, why would you want to do it? And I've talked to people who've lost weight, and I talked to one woman, I said, she lost 90 pounds or something. And I said, why did you do that? I said, have you always known how? Oh, of course not. Oh, everybody knows how. But you get in touch with their why, and they'll talk about something that happened in their life that was traumatic. They couldn't play with their granddaughter, or they looked in the mirror and didn't like the look of themselves, or whatever. That there's that moment where you just go, oh no. You know, the last drink that I had, you know, I remember, I'll never forget the day, January 1, 1976, I woke up and I was in debt, overweight, sickly, drunk, annoying, obnoxious, had no money. I just destroyed my life. And I remember waking up going, you know, this is not how I really wanted my life to go. And I looked in the mirror, and that was the morning I said, that's it. I'm done. So if I ever thinking about going out, having another drink, I can go back to, well, December 31, 75, and remember that night driving in a snowstorm, drunk, and driving drunk, which is, that's the other why I realized that I don't want to be that guy that kills somebody in a drunk driving accident, because the drunk lives, typically. So the what do you want? How are you going to get it? But more importantly, why do you want it? So that goes back to our first conversations, agents get into the business, you know, why do you want to succeed in real estate? So I don't know, it just sounds like a lot of fun. So if they're not committed to that emotional drive to do it, they're not going to get there. So I go back to Venus Morris Griffin. Why do you do that? And, you know, she tells her story. You know, you got 6 kids to feed, my husband's in prison, and I want to send him to college. That's my why. And she says, David, I'll tell you what, when I drive by for sale by owner, all I have to do is think about my 6, now 7 children. I knock on the door. Because she's in touch with her why. I had dinner with Bob Wolf the other night, and I said, so Bob, how's your year going? David, I think I'm going to have my best year ever. I've done $600,000 in income so far this year. And that was February 16th.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Bob, you're having a good year. And I said, Bob, could you spend all the money that you have made? I mean, for the rest, could you spend it? Oh, no, I don't think I could. I said, then why do you do it? And he says, I just like it. It's fun.
Really?
Yeah, he likes doing it.
How does he find the fun in it? Because I think some agents are slaving away and they haven't yet learned how to either turn it into a game, like you said, or how to find a way to make it fun, to pick up a phone and just start cold calling people. Like, I've talked to agents that are like, oh, it's fun for me, the ones that hang up on me. It's fun for me to see how many I can get interested. But really, how do they make it fun? How does a guy like Bob make it fun? And how he makes it fun, could that translate into ways that others could make it fun?
Well, one of the ways that he makes it fun is it's become to the point where it's easy. It comes to him. And he knows the seller, he knows the buyer, and it's fun to do it. So he enjoys that interaction, putting the deals together and doing the multiple offers. Can he win? For an agent new to the business that's not making that kind of income, how in the world do you make prospecting fun? And I've said, there's some stupid bumper sticker that says, don't take life so seriously, you're not getting out of it alive anyway. Trivial, but it's kind of like you have to look at, just have some fun. So when you pick up the phone, or you call on a for sale by owner, treat it like a day at the zoo. And just go, I wonder what's in this cage. If they come out, we ain't gonna list with no realtor. Just go, wow, that's cool. Look at that guy, he's really upset. And try to kind of let go of it. And just see how many calls you can make. I remember I worked for sale by owners, I made a game out of it. I thought, my goal is if I can get this guy to smile, if I can get him to smile, that was my win for the day.
That is wonderful. And I spoke with one lady that I thought was really funny because she, you know, you get hung up on a lot when you're doing telephone prospecting. And so if she got hung up on, she would instantly call them back. I am so sorry that I accidentally got disconnected from you. I mean, just stuff like that was so fun for her because it changed like the way they responded. Sometimes they'd be honest and be like, no, I disconnected us. And sometimes they would just be so surprised that she called back that they'd be willing to listen to her. So those kind of tricks can make it a little fun and entertaining for people.
I think Tommy Hopkins, way, way back, I think it was him who taught a technique. He came up to a for sale by owner and the sign said, for sale by owner, agent selected. And I think it was Tommy who'd go up the door and knock on the door. Hey, my name is Tom Hopkins. I saw your sign said agent selected. I've just got to know, is it me? And everybody laughed and it was fun. So I related that story in one of my in my video. I think it might have been the Mentor Series. Well, a client of mine named Bill Hassel came up and said, David, I got to call you. I got to tell you something. I said, what, Bill? you know that video where you said, agent selected? And I said, yeah, I remember that. And he said, I love that line. I said, just so you know, I think it was Tommy. But he says, I got to tell you something. The other day, I'm driving down the street, I saw for sale by owner, said, agent selected. And he said, I finally, in all my career, had a chance to do it. I said, what happened? Went up the door, knocked on the door. Hi, my name is Bill Hassel. I saw your sign said agent selected. I just got to know, is it me? And the owner's milk shoots out of his nose. The guy's laughing. Oh my gosh, Seth, come in here.
Yes.
He says, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Come in, can I get you a whiskey? And Bill said, well, I don't drink this early in the morning, but thanks for the offer. And he said, I didn't get the for sale by owner. I don't care. It was the best for sale by owner call I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It's that kind of attitude to just pick up the phone and call. And what's the other cliche that I agree with? It, I think it was Brian Tracy who said, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So take the risk, pick up the call, and then people say, well, they're not rejecting you. Frankly, sometimes they are. And that gets into another concept that I got from a guy named Jeb Blunt in his book, Fanatical Prospecting, the difference between interrupting and bothering. An agent said, I don't want to bother people. I don't want you to bother them either. So how do you bother people? Calling them too early, too late, calling them too much, calling them on a cell phone when they're driving. But you have to interrupt them. You have to take that first call and have the risk of you are in fact interrupting them. So try to make it tread lightly. Is this a good time to call? Or you can use the technique, is this a bad time to call, to which they may say no. But you've got to interrupt. You have to interrupt their lives in order to have a relationship. There's no other, because they're not interrupting you.
Right.
They're not calling you.
Right.
So whether you interrupt them by calling or texting, and of course I'm into personal contact. For sale by owners, knock on the door. Expired listings, knock on the door, because everybody else is doing the other stuff. Open houses, the thing about open houses, they're coming to you, so they're interrupting you. So those are easier.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's talk a little bit about model practice feedback. What is that?
MPF is how anybody learns a skill. Model is modeling. You watch other people do it. How many people are doing things to their kids that their parents did to them that they said they'd never do? Well, you've got that model in your brain. That's all you know. However you were raised, how you were parented. That's the image that's in your brain, and we tend to judge everything in the future based on that model. Now, if it's a good model, yay. And parents give us both positive and negative models. My dad was a very conservative guy. He said, you better take 10% of your income and save it every year. Don't spend it. And to this day, I follow that, So then my mom was, oh, Charlie, honestly, let's go on vacation. So my mom was more like, hey, have some fun. So I have both of them in me, which I'm grateful for those models. So if I'm teaching somebody a skill, the first thing to do is show it to them. A quote that says, 5 minutes of show me is worth 5 hours of tell me. So rather than a talking head over a PowerPoint video, most of our videos feature real agents on actual transactions, or me doing role play demonstrations. And I'll demonstrate. See how they do that? Watch how that, you see how that happened? That's M, model. Next is P, practice. And there's only one way to practice this business.
Role playing?
Role play. And
Which
you go,
I would feel so awkward. Yeah,
I don't
to me
like
it'd be
role
so
playing.
awkward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it is. It's awkward. It's horrible. But if you can do role playing, real life's easy. So when agents say, I don't like role play, to that I say, of course not. Nobody likes it. You're not doing it for joy. This isn't for fun. This is for professional development. Aren't you glad the captain of your airline role played in a simulator for hours and hours and hours? Every single profession that I can think of, doctors, lawyers, pilots, surgeons, actors, actresses, news, everybody practices except realtors.
Yes.
They don't want to do it because they're scared.
Right.
And so for the practice, I have a little moniker called iPractice, small I, capital P, off the iPhone, where if you and I might be the agent, you'd be the customer, we'd get somebody else, hold up the iPhone and do 5 minutes, ready, go. And keep them close together, and you do a 5-minute video role play. And they hate, oh, I don't like, I'm not good on video. Is this really how I look on video? Yep, that's how you look, that's how you sound.
And powerful, because I know that I got much better with journalism and being on camera when I would go and study myself on camera. Is it easy to do? No, it's so hard to watch what you're doing, but I made leaps and bounds of strides towards the better when I would actually do that. So role playing is important.
There is no other way to practice a human, you can't do it. You can practice on the homeowner, and then it's going to cost you $10,000 commission. Or you can practice on somebody else in your office, and it's going to cost your ego. A lot of people would rather lose the 10 grand.
Isn't that interesting?
That's how afraid they are of role playing.
Yeah.
And
or they say things like, "Oh, I'm just more natural in person," and those are the very agents
you
too.
naturally suck in person is what you're doing.
And those are the agents that don't want to stick to a script too, because you'll hear, even some trainers say, "Why would you stick to a script? Because the customer's not going to stick to a script."
I can go back and forth on that, and there's two ways to script. One is to script everything you're going to say. And I think it's important to know, if not word for word, bullet point for bullet point. But I would probably say, to begin with, write it out, get a script, and memorize the thing. I'd be okay with that. Be willing to know when you adjust it. But the scripts that I absolutely implore are the questions you're going to ask. That I'll bang into people. And asking for a referral, for example. A lot of people, do you know if anybody's thinking about buying or selling? Bad question. I said, here's the question. I want you to memorize it, write it down. I even have a thing they can print out and put on the back of their mobile device. Read the thing as written. It says, of all of your friends, who do you think would be the next to make a move? It's an open question because it starts with who. It's time-based because it's who's next. But if you say, do you know of any? No, but who's going to be next? Well, the guy's going to be next, probably Jim and Bobby. Their kids went off to this, or whatever.
Sure.
So I believe very much in scripting questions. I write them out. I give them to agents to do that. And yes, when you come back and do need to respond, everybody is scripted. I mean, you're going to say the same thing over and over again, so why not make it right? So people say, well, it's not natural. Then take the outline of a good message and stick with the outline, and then make it more your words. So I get both sides of that, but something's coming out of your mouth, it might as well be right.
Right, yeah, correct. Yeah. And practiced.
And practice. Yeah. So MPF, model, watch how somebody does it so you get the image in your mind. Practice, try it out, practice, role play. When you get to some point, okay, let's videotape it, and then MPF is feedback. The most powerful, Ken Blanchard's book, 1 Minute Manager, said the most powerful motivator of human performance is instantaneous feedback on results. And the most instantaneous feedback for most people is a mirror. How many times have you looked in the mirror and you go, oh my gosh, look at that. The mirror changes you. So a good leader, good manager, coach, be the mirror to that person. When I was going through treatment, they said, you know what, if 20 people tell you you've got a tail, at least turn around and take a look. There's some feedback for you. Yeah. And so take it as feedback. Yeah, does it hurt? Yeah, my first CRS speaking engagement with Del Bain, I bombed, complete and total bomb. And Del Bain gave me very specific feedback on how I bombed, and it hurt. It hurt. That was 40-some years ago. Right. But I'll tell you what, had he not given me that feedback, I would have continued to make those mistakes rather than fix them. So model, practice, feedback. I raced cars for years, and a famous race car driver named Derek Bell raced in Le Mans. Gave me a ride in my 911 on a racetrack. He came up to do this for us. I went, yay, Derek Bell. I said, Mr. Bell, I'm David Knox. I said, I've been, driving, racing, whatever. I'd love it if you'd take me around the track. And I was in a racing suit, and I had harnesses and roll bars. He looked at me, he said, yeah, he's a racer boy. And I said, take me around. And he went Brainerd International Raceway. And the first lap around, he's never been on the track in his life. In the first lap, I was faster here, he was faster there. I think I'm a little bit faster here. Well, yeah, okay. All right, maybe I'm okay. This is Derek Bell. Maybe I'm not that far away from a Derek Bell. Second lap, now he knows the track. Now he's on it. Third lap, I needed to go to a dry cleaner. He was going around corners, dragging around sideways. He might as well have been smoking a cigarette, getting the back end out, full throttle oversteer out of turn 4 at Brainerd. And I'm going, oh my God, I never knew. He says, yeah, I like your car. I like the way it handles. And at the end of that lap, I went, oh my gosh. So my image is like an agent who saw, instead of $5 million a year, I could do $15 million a year. Oh my gosh, all I have to do is these things. I can go faster through the corner. And at the end, I said, Mr. Bell, thank you so much. This was one of the best laps I've ever had in a race car. And now I have this image in my mind that I could apex a little later in turn 4. I can get the power earlier there. I could do this. And so I got right back out on the track, practiced it. And then the next time, I took a kid out. So I was now the instructor. Right. And the guy said, dude, you are the smoothest driver I've ever been with. The key to driving is smoothness. Ideally, if you put a cup of coffee and Velcro it to a car, take it around a racetrack and not spill the coffee. You'll get it all the way up to the cup like that, and your right turn G-forces, but it's not, it's like people come up to the stop sign, hit the brakes, and the car does this. That hurts you. So it was fun to have learned from him, model, practice, feedback, and then demonstrate it to a student and have the feedback that I had learned from him. So,
wow.
So how do you do it in real estate? Yeah. watch other agents, watch them on video, accompany them on listing presentations, give an agent, say, I'm going to write you a check for $1,000 if I can go on 3-year listings.
Yeah.
And watch what they do.
That's a great idea.
And for people who say, set a goal to double your income. First thing I do is I find all the people that in your market or in your company that are making the income that you want, take them out to lunch. See if they'll let you go on listing presentations, selling presentations. And they'll say, do you think they'll let me do it? The real top agents are happy to share. The ones who operate out of scarcity may not be, but a guy like, I'm not going to use names because I don't know who might or might not, but most of those people are happy to be mentors.
That's wonderful advice, actually.
And if they're not, respect that.
So let's talk about a checklist. What is the checklist that every successful agent should adhere to?
Checklist, being, I scuba dive, I was a race car driver, I was a pilot, everything I did was on a checklist. So, and my travel, when I do a seminar, I got a 2-page checklist, microphone, lights, every single thing. When I have a go on a trip, checklist all the way down to, take your keys, take a bottle of water, it's really molecular. So we create checklists for agents in our online training. So I have an open house checklist, a listing checklist. So I'm just saying to all agents, whatever things you do repeatedly, have a checklist so you can go down, because I can't tell you how many times some of the basic fundamental things, oh my gosh, I forgot to switch my microphone from the Rode to the, simple stuff. Yeah. So just operate on a checklist rather than what are you going to do for listing? I don't know, I guess I'm going to just drive out there. No, what are you going to do first, second, third, and fourth?
So then what are the steps of a sale?
Well, I talked about meet people, prospecting, establish rapport, get them to like you, feel comfortable with you, which would be skills of just listening, asking questions, establishing trust. How do you establish trust? Tell people the truth. Robert Cialdini in his book, 6 Elements of Influence, talks about divulge weakness early to establish trust. So if you don't have the biggest market share in a market, don't lie about it. Just say, we're not, if you measure us by market share, we're not the largest company. And you've come clean, you acknowledge that. However, our list to sale price ratio is, 6/10 higher than anybody else. So build trust by telling them the truth. Because sellers will test you. They already know the answer. Like the lawyers, they never ask a question to which they do not know the answer. Sometimes sellers do that. Next is motivation. And the heart of this entire industry is motivation. Their why. Because sellers have the what, how, and why. What do they want to do? They want to sell their home. How? Most amount of money, least amount of inconvenience. Why? Why are they moving? And if they don't have a why, it's going to be a bad listing. And I've said to agents who complain about overpriced listings, I said, you know what? Pricing isn't your problem. It's motivation. No, it's pricing. No, it's not, because how many CMAs have you given them? 4. How much information have you given them? Tons. They won't lower the price of the home still. So if given all that facts and data and they don't make a change, it's motivation. It's kind of like a doctor saying, if you don't quit smoking, you're going to die. If you don't lose weight, you're going to die. And they look at the x-ray, they go, this white area right here, how many more pounds could I gain and still be okay? I mean, they don't want to lose weight or they don't want to quit smoking. So for a seller who wants to move, they're more likely to price it properly.
So I know that we talked about basic first impressions being so huge, but let's just talk about prospecting philosophy, because I really want agents to understand how to build sustainable businesses, and you cannot do that without prospecting. So really, what is the prospecting philosophy that needs to be adopted?
I might recommend a book called, I mentioned it before, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount, spelled B-L-O-U-N-T. And it's a great book, and it divides all the behaviors of a salesperson into 2 categories: familiarity and direct prospecting. Familiarity is the fun stuff. It's easy. There's no rejection. It's social media, email, marketing, postcards, putting stuff out there, advertising, billboards, bus benches, whatever it is. It's building your brand, building your familiarity. It's one way. At the end of the day, you feel good because you were busy. You may have spent money on all the things that you're doing, building familiarity. At the end of the day, did you talk to anybody? No. Okay. Well, you need to build familiarity. We're okay with that. But you've got to get out of familiarity into direct prospecting, and that to me is face-to-face, phone-to-phone. And if you're not face-to-face, phone-to-phone, or high-tech, Zoom, FaceTime, you're probably not really in the business. So I don't consider it prospecting until you're talking to another person.
Absolutely.
So even when they text you, these people don't want to talk, they only text me. Well, if they text you, it's axiomatic you have a cell phone, just call them. Just call them. Well, what if they don't like it? If you don't call, the answer is always no, and they're already asking you information about the property. Do you have the right to call them and say, hey, I know you and I have been texting, but I've got a question I really need to ask you, or I've got a property I want to tell you about, or whatever. Come up with a good reason to just call them.
Yeah. So we've talked about different levels already of prospecting, the FSBOs, the expireds. Let's get a little bit more into sphere of influence and how, once you start to build that pipeline, how do they best stay involved with making sure these people feel like they're still on it, they are the person that's a go-to person for them when it comes to real estate, just the sphere of influence part of prospecting?
Great question, because I don't know, it's 80% of commissions generated in the U.S., probably the world for that matter, come from that source. And if you're a brand new agent, it's a little bit more difficult to work. So they're going to be getting leads from people they don't know. And by the way, the 6 steps that I talk about responding to leads. Number 1 is respond, answer the phone, return the phone call, text, whatever. Number 2 is thank. First, when you get them on the phone, hey, thank you, rather than, I'd like to tell you about that 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double garage home. You thank them. Say, thank you so much for calling. Thanks for coming to the open house. Thanks for coming to the door. Thank you. So and then number 2 is engage them, have a conversation. What's going on? How are you doing? Have a chat with them, and then learn their situation. And the 3 questions I want to ask buyers is, how soon do you want to move? How long have you been looking? If you found something today, what would you do? And then offer help, and then ask for an appointment. Now, those are 6 steps of all lead generation. But for sphere of influence, I've asked, I had a woman who works for me now complaining about a real estate agent. Couldn't stand her. And she asked me for a referral. And I said, yeah, gosh, I know a lot of agents here in the Twin Cities. And I said, why not work with my realtor? The woman who sold my home next door to your parents. And she said, I'd love to. What's her name? And I said, her name is, I forgot her name.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, she was great. I can picture it in my mind. I can't remember her name. I said, Aaron, I'm going to call you back. Let me go in. So I go into my purchase agreement, scroll down. I said, oh, my gosh, sure. How could I forget her? Because I sold it in 2011, and this call was in 2019. We were 12 to 19,
years.
whatever it was.
So
I go in, find her name. I go into my email. The last email I got from her was the year that I sold, 2012. So I email her, and I ask the most embarrassing question any agent will get asked. Are you still in the real estate business?
Wow.
And I said, I was talking to Aaron. I've tried to refer her to you, but I forgot your name because I haven't heard from you. I was real straight with her. And are you still in the real estate business? And to her credit, she responded pretty quickly and said, yes, it was really good to see you at the 4th of July thing or something like that. Yes, we're still in the real estate business. My husband and I are still trying to find a way to stay in touch with our past clients.
7 years later.
Do you think?
7 years
Could you
later.
have called, texted, written, skywrite, do the Brian Buffini, pop by, anything? My good friend Dave Beeson, also another CRS instructor, has a great line. He says, anything works and nothing doesn't.
Right.
So an agent say, what should I do? What should I do? I don't, just do something is better than doing nothing. So, I talk about being good versus being there. I've asked audience, do you think an agent has to be good to make money? Do salespeople have to be good? They, oh yeah, they got to be good, rapport, trust, motivation, presenting benefits, all that. I said, have you ever bought from anybody who's bad at all those things? And they go, yeah. I said, why'd you do that? Well, I was the only one there. So a major point, if you can't be good, you have to be there. And even if you are good, you have to be there. What's the definition there? First step is meet people.
Yeah.
So they ended up connecting, and this woman did a wonderful job, and Heidi was happy. But after 7 years, you could have called. So I ask audiences, how many of you called anybody in your sphere of influence lately? And now their heads go down. And people say, well, and I said, get on the phone, call them. Yeah, but I haven't talked to her for 5 years. What should I do? And I said, wait 1 more year. And then they
like,
do the
yes,
same thing. Yeah, wait 1 more year.
I can do that.
Yeah, then wait 1 more year, and pretty soon everybody dies, and we solve that problem. And I said, there's 3 reasons to call a past client: thank, invite, and inform. And the first, call them up and thank them. Just call them up and say, hey, David, I just, as I start the year in an attitude of gratitude, I just wanted to call you up and say, you know what? And I was looking back to the time you guys did business, bought a home. I just want to say thank you very much for buying a home for me. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for referring. And just call and say thank you. And if you'd like, keep it as a pure thank you call. But it may evolve into, oh, good to hear from you. How's the market?
Yeah.
And it becomes maybe more of a call. And if you feel comfortable, and if you don't want to do it, don't do it, but a nice, gentle question would be, yeah, you guys have been in the home now for 4 years. How you liking it? It's great. Oh, Susie loves it, and we have a great time. We have a dog now, loves running in the backyard. Good. How much longer do you guys think you're going to stay there? And that it ought to be a question that every agent asks every human being for the rest of their life in business. How much longer do you plan to stay in your home?
Right.
Not the first thing out of your mind. Not somebody, you, how long are you going to stay in your home? Of course, probably make money doing that. But at some point, ask that question. And that's your own predictive marketing. And so that's the first thing.
Excellent, yeah.
Second would be to invite. And that means you do some kind of event marketing where you have a party. My realtor in Rancho Mirage has a come back to season party at the Mission Hills Country Club. And I think he gets a couple hundred people there.
Right.
He's got a little trio, and he's got a buffet, and he's got a bar, and he and his assistant, well, thank you very much for coming. On the way out, they give you a little gift, and it's very nice. And I should ask him what he paid for that. Let's guess 15 grand, probably 15. Well, I think he made that much off of me. I listed 3 homes and sold one through him. So,
right.
And
it's a good
marketing.
tax write-off.
Well, yeah, it's tax deductible, and you get to meet people face-to-face, phone-to-phone. And if you can't do any of those, you can inform.
Right.
Call them up and say, go
And
ahead.
it's even more powerful because you might only have a couple of hundred in the room, but they know a couple of hundred per person. They can refer you to someone. It's a good way to get on the referral machine, I think, too.
Absolutely. In event marketing, the beauty of that is when you call them, you're not asking for business. See, that's the big fear agents have. I don't really like calling people and asking for business. I get it. They don't want to be like the Tupperware salesperson. I said then if you call to thank them, that's good. If you call to invite them to something, we've reserved a block of 100 tickets at the Home and Garden Show if you'd like them, or we have pumpkins, or we have hearts for Valentine's, or whatever. Even if nobody comes to the event, you still had the 100 nice calls.
Right.
And the third one would be just, hey, I'm calling you guys because the market has made a change we haven't seen happen in like 4 years. It directly affects you, and I want to tell you about it.
Like it.
New listing comes on their street. Hey, you guys, I just want to let you know that the home came over 1 block over or down from you. It came on for, $875. $875, wow, we only paid $6 for ours, so it looks like we've gone up in value. Yeah, I just thought you'd like to know that.
Great.
And then, by the way, how much longer do you guys plan to stay there? Well, at $875, we might be moving today or whatever.
Exactly. No, I love it. So how do you prospect around a current listing?
Well, I've said to agents and to all agents, once you get a listing, it's like you're in, baby.
Right.
You're in. You're in the neighborhood. It's your name. It's your company. It's your face. You're in. You're part of the club. Take advantage of it. And if it's in a fast market, you better take advantage of it right this second because it might sell in 3 days or 3 hours. So the first thing you do, you're getting the listing and maybe the sign hasn't gone up. You've got to do your stuff and stay within the MLS rules. And then get your just listed cards. You should have a template with Prospects Plus or whoever you lose, and get the photos in and get those things printed and get them delivered either EDDM or get a kid to distribute them, whatever, and you get a just listed card out to all the neighbors and have your photo on it, a recent photo, because then the next thing, that's familiarity, sending stuff out. Now we're going to go into direct prospecting. I'm going to go knock on the door. And say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. My name is David Knox. I have Tom and Susie's home on the market. I just want, first of all, see, did you get this card? And so make sure my face looks like the one on there. Go, oh, yeah, we got that card. Yeah. I just wanted to introduce myself. It's a courtesy call to see if you had any questions on the home.
Right.
And they're probably going to say, what's the asking price? And if you can get into a conversation, if you can't, obviously, nothing you can do. But if you can, so you guys have, how long have you been here? 4 years. How do you like the neighborhood? Love it. How much longer do you think you'll stay here? So imagine if you go knock on all the doors in the neighborhood over the next few days and introduce yourself. I think that's pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
And then the just sold card followed up. And if you want, knock on the doors again. At least in the old days, I think Tom Hopkins taught the 5 by 5 by 5. You knock on the 5 across, 5 to the left, 5 to the right. If you really want to make money, do the 50-50-50. It's kind of up to you.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And then the other thing,
filling the pipeline.
Pardon?
It's all about filling the
Filling
sales
up.
pipeline. Yeah.
The other thing you can do is have a neighbors-only open house, and send out an open house invitation to everybody in the neighborhood. I might send out 1,000. You buy the every door direct mail routes, however many you want, and just say we're having a neighbors-only open house from 10 to 12. Because we know you like to see the properties in your neighborhood. Please come by between 10 and 12, and have them come by and take a look at the property, and then schedule the public open from 12 to 2. and there'll be people in there. So you know the 10 to 2, they're neighbors. So when they come in, how are you doing? You must be one of our wonderful neighbors. Yes, I am. Yeah, we're Tom and Susie. We're just nosy neighbors. We welcome to come on in, take a look around. What made you want to see this home? Well, you're just curious, what decorating ideas, or we're thinking we might. It doesn't matter what they say. What matters is come on in. Right. And you're dressed, you're professional, and they're thinking we may not move now, but boy, honey, what did you think of her? She was amazing.
Yeah.
I really liked her. And they say, but go take a look around the property. By the way, before you leave. Find me. I've got a feature sheet you might want. I just want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Then they come back. What'd you think of the property? And if you can get in conversation, how much longer? So you guys have lived here in this neighborhood how long? Oh, you're in the English tutor. Oh, I love that. It's a beautiful home. How much longer do you guys think you'll stay in this neighborhood? Mm-hmm. Again, that question got to come out day in, day out all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you get this lead. Say somebody in the neighborhood stops by and now they want to use you as well. What are the steps to converting that lead?
Well, the next step is follow-up. Mm-hmm. Absolute follow-up. And how do you do it? High-tech, low-tech, medium-tech, a million ways. I'm a fan of the handwritten note. Mm-hmm. Some people might say that's old school, but how many people frame a birthday email? So I think a handwritten note, or if they ask for some information and they do, you're going to send them a link to something, a phone call, handwritten note, whatever it is they want. In fact, you could ask a question before they go. By the way, you guys, would you like to be kept abreast of activity in this neighborhood? Mm-hmm. Would you like to know about new listings, new sales? And if they say yes, great. How would I best get that information to you? Now you got name, email, get all the information, and now you start a database for that neighborhood, and that maybe become your listing farm. Because once you get 2 in there, you get 2, 4, 8, and that's exponential. Pretty soon you own the neighborhood.
Let's talk listing. Once I've got a listing and they want to use me, just briefly tell me, how do I convert that into a sale for the person that's entrusting me with that listing?
Or how do you get that listing, you mean, right?
Well, how do I get the listing, and then how do I get it sold for them?
Well, first of all, in getting the listing, I think the pre-listing activities are critical. And I used to teach doing pre-listing packages, a physical package couriered to the seller. Mm-hmm. Or digital, or both. People say physical or digital. How about do both so you don't have to guess? What's in it? A handwritten note, microwave popcorn, a coupon for a spare key to be made for free. I got a guy that does that. 50% of his sellers give him the key. That's a pretty good pre-listing. Homework for them to do. Improvements made since purchase. What do you like, dislike about the home? Feature sheets, testimonials. Something that the owners look at that and, honey, what are you looking at? Oh, this is Susan's coming over tomorrow night to talk to us. Boy, she's the one who sold that house. So you've raised yourself from a 0 to at least a 2, that at least you have credibility. So that's the first thing. Learn everything you can about the house. Then, for the listing presentation, as we already talked about, show up on time. Mm-hmm. And dress well, shine shoes, gargle mouthwash, whatever. Go in, and I think the most important first step is to do what I'd call a listening presentation. Mm-hmm. People start walking in and they start talking about the price. If you lead with price, you'll lose with price. So I would go in and sit down and say, well, Kimberly, thank you so much for inviting me to your home. I consider it an honor that you would talk to me about selling your home. So as a way of beginning, there's so many things I can tell you about our company, but the most important thing is what I know about you. So tell me a little bit about your situation, Kimberly. What's going on with you?
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And then you'll say, we've lived in the home this long, and I've got a list of seller questions that you can kind of look at and go through and get everything. And if I were to take notes, I would put facts on the left side and feelings on the right. Mm-hmm. So fact, we have lived here for 6 years. We're bored with it and want to get out. Bored. I did a role play with one woman who said, my husband took a job 1 hour away, and now I lose him 2 hours. It's an hour drive in the morning, hour at night, and late at night he came home and I was so tired he ran up the road, almost killed himself.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And this was she was playing herself. So when I did the summary, I would go through the facts. You've lived in the home your husband's taken a job, and what I heard you saying was that you're missing him in the morning for an hour because he's got to get up earlier. At the end of the day, it's another long hour drive, and it's dark and it's cold, and you fear for his safety driving home late at night, and for that reason, you'd like to move closer to his work. Mm-hmm. And I stopped, and she said, that's right, or correct, or yes. So in the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, who talks about hostage negotiation, the first step is to summarize the terrorist position, vile though it may be. Mm-hmm. You have to say, this is what I heard you say. And if he says, yeah, you're not agreeing with his position, you're merely, here's what I heard you say. And if you can get an owner to the point where they know you understand them, then you can go through your marketing plan. And I've suggested there's 8 things that happen on every listing. Marketing management. What do we do to manage the whole process? Exposure to agents. Homeowners don't know that the majority of listings are sold by other companies. They think it's the internet and advertising. No, it's the cooperation with other companies. Then exposure to the public, securing the prospects. So when they say, well, the other company does the same exposure to you, but do they secure a prospect? Do they answer the phone? Let's call and see. Go click on their website, see if they respond. Call them, see if they answer the phone. See, secure prospects, that's where the money is. Then demonstrating the home, securing an agreement, closing, and then the net equity check. So the listing presentation can be built around those 8.
Yeah, I like that. So let's wrap, David, with overcoming objections. We've talked a lot about mindset, and a lot of people can't handle rejection, or they don't know how to overcome it. So how do agents start practicing and learning and mastering overcoming objections?
Well, I've taught the PAID approach: pause, acknowledge, isolate, discover. Okay. So somebody says, you know, we talked to this other company that their commission's 1% lower than yours. Uh-huh. And that pause is painful. And they say, so it sounds to me like the commission would be an issue for you. Yeah, well, yeah, so you acknowledge. So everything else we've done tonight is good, but the commission is something that's holding you back. Is that right? Yes. Okay, then let me ask you this. Other than the commission, that's I isolate. Other than the commission, how do you feel about listing with us? You know, other than the small bedrooms, other than the distance to work, other than whatever those objections are, other than that, how do you feel about buying the home or listing with us? Well, other than that, we're okay. Then PAID, pause, acknowledge, isolate, discover. Why is that an issue for you? Why is a small bedroom an issue for you? It sounds obvious, but they may come back, we're going to put an office in there and go, oh, you know, it doesn't matter. They're going to come back. So PAID. So for commission objections, you know, I talk about value, difference, dialogue, net, and strength. And the value is you got to do all the things that we've been talking about: answering the phone, showing up on time. So if you want to get paid this much, you better act like that. Right. Then you're not competing against other realtors. You're competing against Starbucks, Lululemon, Delta, whoever you like. So you got to be at that level. Point of what is your difference? Do you do more websites? Do you take more photos? Difference could be in list to sale price, days on market expiration, per person productivity. Itemize the differences that bring more money. And by the way, one of the most important parts in commission objections is never discuss the whole amount of commission, only difference. Mm-hmm. So if you're X and they're X minus 1, just talk to 1. So Mr. Marcello, I appreciate the fact we're 1% more than them. And then here's the best dialogue for commission objections, and that is, you know, Kimberly, I appreciate you have the opportunity to list with somebody at X minus 1, and you know that's certainly an option you'll have. But let me ask you this: if our fees were the same, who would you list with tonight?
I like it.
And the answer should be, well, we'd go with you. Mm-hmm. Well, great. Why? And they should come back with, we like your list to sale ratio. You sell homes faster, you sell for more money, my sister thought you did a great job, whatever. And you say, you just identified 8 major differences between us and the other company. Do you see why our fees are a little bit higher? And more importantly, what do you think that's going to do to your net equity? Mm-hmm. And then you show that you're actually net more. I can't help you with the lower fee, but I could help you with a higher net. And in the final step is strength, having what I call no power, the power to walk away.
Right.
Easier to teach than it is to do. And we've all had to make that sacrifice where you just have to say no and walk away from a listing. It's hard.
Well, what I found interesting about what you said is you know your value, but you're prompting them to also vocalize your value.
Exactly.
That's huge. I haven't really come across somebody who said that before. Mm-hmm. That they vocalize their value, but how much more powerful would it be for you to get them to vocalize your value?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So David, if people want to learn more about you or go more in depth on some of the things we spoke about, where can they go to just get all your materials and just go in depth in any of these topics that we went into and just learn more about how you coach?
Well, obviously go to davidknox.com, mm-hmm. and there's 2 groups that we address, well, 3 groups. People who want to hire me to do seminars. I've done 3,500 seminars in 12 countries, so if they want to sponsor a seminar, they can go there, talk to me. The second group would be broker, owner, manager companies who would subscribe to our online training videos. We're kind of like the I guess, a Netflix of real estate training, where they can subscribe to the videos and get the videos online or through a mobile app. And then the third group is salespeople using our consumer videos. The one I'm most well known, it would be pricing your home to sell. Mm-hmm. It's a short video that realtors give to the seller to teach them to price it right. So those are the 3 groups that we help.
That's great. You heard it right there. DavidKnox.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
I really
Kimberly.
appreciate
Thank you
your
very
time.
much. Thank you very much.
You've learned from one of the very best, so thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay, we'll cut.
We're done. How was that?